Hello and welcome. I'm John Shackelford, Product Manager for Analytics here at GitLab. Today, I want to share with you a few thoughts about the evolution of our strategy for the analytics area. Back in January, Jeremy Watson shared with us a vision about how to unify the 13 different analytics capabilities we have today into a single cohesive story centered around the flow of value through the stages of the DevOps lifecycle. That the 10 DevOps lifecycle stages could represent a value stream that would resonate with our customers was a great insight. It provides a framework for describing how our existing capabilities fit together, and it also helps us map out opportunities for further investment. Jeremy showed how a feature such as code review analytics and productivity analytics are a drill-in on some aspect of the value stream, highlighting opportunities to streamline a particular part of the overall flow. This also led us to align new categories to particular stages of the value stream, such as planning analytics and code analytics. And Nick Post followed up with some great work that created a visual framework for these new capabilities. We've got this DevOps lifecycle across the top representing the value stream, key metrics below it, and then a chart with a data table below for further exploration. The report object, as Nick calls it with affection, is born. And then we went on to reimagine how existing features like productivity analytics could be reimagined into this new framework. And we'd also decided to focus on metrics that are areas of interest for our customers, such as the DORA metrics or the flow framework metrics. I think there are 7 fundamental insights behind this plan, and they really resonated with me when I first saw this video back in January. And these are the 7 points. First, we've got 13 different analytics capabilities, and we need a story that rationalizes them and provides a framework for thinking about the future. 2, the value stream idea is a perfect fit for what we're trying to achieve, and it gives us a way to think about the future. 3, if we use the stages of the DevOps lifecycle as a way to structure our offerings, it can help us even depict the value stream in the UI. 4, we need a consistent user experience. Thank you, Nick. And existing capabilities such as productivity analytics could be re-envisioned to fit into this framework. We should focus on metrics our customers care about and invest in the planning stage. Of course, I've left out a few points about the different tiers, product group, instance tiers, and so on, and the idea of transforming the DevOps score into being more about ROI and measures of value. But I think that these 7 things capture really the most salient points of this strategy. So we're in July now. What's changed? Well, the first point is that I think all of these insights are just as fundamental now as when I first heard them back in January. I think these are going to be guiding ideas for some time. Now, we have learned a few things about certain of these, which I'll share with you. I want to share a few key learnings here. So the learnings I've marked with light bulbs. But first, before we get into those, a few real high-level points. The only item here that I have any reservation about is the one about using the stages of the DevOps lifecycle in the UI to depict the value stream. So we live these stages day in and day out. Every time we create an issue or an MR, we affix a label to it indicating which stage or subgroup we're part of. It's part of our organization structure and fundamental to the way we think about GitLab as an organization and as a product. But this is not really true of our customers. Even big fans of GitLab are not going to have these 10 stages top of mind. And especially large enterprises tend to invest in their own process frameworks. They come up with their own nomenclature about how IT works in their organization. They train people on it and so on. And they tend to bristle a little bit when other nomenclature and process frameworks feel like they're being imposed or are competing with the messages and terminology that they're using themselves. And analysts have warned us about this very directly, have been confused by the order of the different stages in the life cycle. And I've even had conversations with folks in marketing that have said, hey, we should be too careful about baking in our organization structure into our UI. So that area is one I've got a little reservation about. I think we need to watch carefully and collect feedback on. But the rest of them make a ton of sense to me. And I think everything I've seen really underscores the importance of number 7 here, investing in the planning stage. This is, given the way that stage adoption translates into growth for us in terms of expansion at a particular customer site, upgrades to higher tiers, and so on. Probably unblocking plan adoption by creating some of those analytics capabilities that project managers are after is important, not just for us and for plan, but really for the whole business. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 learnings. The first I want to talk about is this idea for a unifying theme or structure to bring together these disparate capabilities. And I think the first learning for me, which I really didn't have any idea of until I got to GitLab and started watching customer demos and being involved in calls and speaking to analysts and so on, is that this is not really just an analytics problem, it's a whole product problem. Whenever customers ask us the question, hey, tell us about GitLab's dashboards or the metrics that you have, it's kind of a tough story. We have slide decks that take you through many different screens. We've got demos that involve lots of different screens to try to answer customers' questions about what dashboards or metrics we have in the product. Now, we actually create this question because when we sell GitLab, we talk about helping them go faster, improving their cycle times, and so on. They say, show me. Then we have to answer this question about dashboards and so on. I don't have evidence that this has cost us any deals, but in the demos that I've observed, it's a frequent source of disappointment with customers. The response that we get to this is not, wow, you can do a lot, but, well, it looks like you may have what I need, but it's really hard to tell. I guess we could live with that. Or even, oh, I guess you just don't really have dashboards. I'm going to have to use an open source one like IGEA. When are you guys going to solve this in GitLab? I think to remove some of that disappointment and friction in our sales process and in our customers' usage of the tool, this is a really important thing to tackle. Not so much because it's a super exciting feature, because it's expected. Our competitors have it, and I've seen this as a frequent source of annoyance or disappointment from existing customers or prospects. Okay, next. Value stream as a fundamental unifier. The value stream market's heated up quite a bit lately. There's a lot of innovation in this space. I've witnessed this firsthand before I joined GitLab. We just did a tour of analyst briefings. We talked to probably 10 different analysts at 3 different firms, and they confirmed this with very concrete examples, and they were very direct with us about how advanced our competitors have come in the last 18 to 24 months. One of the really important pieces of feedback from those engagements, and I have had this confirmed by customers as well, is that the images that we depict of the future state of value stream with those page objects does not resonate with people familiar with value stream offerings as a value stream process mapping kind of capability. It looks to them like a dashboard, not like a value stream map or any kind of representation of the value stream. They're not interactive, and they're not likely to generate a lot of daily use to drive up analytics our analytics usages. I don't think it means we don't do those page objects. I think that's really important. That's part of that dashboarding and reporting story that we need to tell. We still want to build out those DORA metrics and so on. But I think what we want the centerpiece of our value stream capability to be is a visualization that's going to be an sort of a next gen of a Kanban board that's really aligned to value stream, that has a rich experience around being able to see things through the flow and interact with them. In order to build that, we're going to need a more sophisticated data model and calculation system to support that. It's going to take us some time to get there. In the meantime, we can make a lot of progress on telling that story with dashboards and reports and scaling it. And when it comes to scale, I think it's really important that we have a framework in place that allows us to do this many times and go for breadth. You know, if we take the approach where we're going to address each stage of the DevOps lifecycle with a new drill down experience that's fairly rich, like code review analytics, for example, it's going to take us a long time to get this kind of breadth we need to tell that whole GitLab story. Instead, we want to lower the bar by making it so that all we have to do is figure out how to render a given metric, and all the other work, the dashboarding, the report pages, and so on, it's a generic capability. If we were only doing 5 or 10 of these, then the overhead of a framework investment might not make a lot of sense. But the number of metrics that we're talking about hitting is closer to 20 or 30 than 5 or 10. And in fact, our competitors in our space routinely will talk about having 60 metrics out of the box and so on. So that number, it really needs to scale. That means it's got to be easy for us and easy for others to contribute, and we need to incentivize that contribution. How does this work in the real world? Well, cross-stage collaboration can be tricky. We want to definitely avoid dependencies and waiting, but what we can do is go where there's already momentum and action and find out how to contribute to that by making what other stages are trying to achieve easier, and also then having, by their adoption of capabilities like the report pages and dashboards, drive traffic back to the analytics area. So that's a win for everybody. I want to leave you with an image that talks about our category structure as I think about it now. Really just 2 primary categories that we're focusing on: value stream management and DevOps reports. DevOps reports has those 2 capabilities of dashboards and reports that we've talked about. And then the focus for value stream management becomes a visual value stream capability, as well as analytics that are embedded in every part of the product and helping customers be more efficient day to day. Across the top is that metrics library, and the specific kind of drill downs that we have talked about, like planning analytics, code analytics, and so on, really start to point to subcategories of that metrics library. Please feel free to explore this. It's all hyperlinked to issues and epics where there's a lot more detail. Would love to have your questions and suggestions. Thanks a lot.